live any second now, and we're live in Building a Dark Web, episode 1.7, where we discuss the making of Dark Web Chapter 7. And today on the show, my intro is getting worse every week.
You sound drunker every time.
And I'm sober and it's just getting worse. We have a plethora of guests today, and starting with Tim Nardelli, co-EP, writer of The Transplant and story, graphics, you know him by this point. We've got the fabulous Cole Bernstein, live from Los Angeles, deep in quarantine, with brown hair now. We've got the lovely, bearded Doug Yablun, editor to the stars.
Hi, Dougie.
Hi, good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Live from an undisclosed tavern in Texas is, I don't know why, Dora, tavern, Dora Madison, who is lovely to join us today, given the fact that she's in a different time zone, and she is weeks or days away from giving birth to a human life form.
I am like 30 days away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's still really close.
Do you know the gender?
It's a little girl.
I already know.
That's good because men are trash.
I knew it. And Roxy, Shih, director, writer of many episodes. And what's your wine called? Men Are Trash?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Well, it's blank canvas, and my friend just wrote "Men Are Trash."
Oh, I thought it was really the name. Okay.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, I'll start a vineyard. I mean, I don't know, whatever.
But the wine.
Yeah,
good.
but the wine.
And our director of photography for Viral, Sheldon, recently married, Sheldon Chau. Woo! Live
How's
from
it
New
going?
York.
Nice to be
You're in
here.
New York?
Yeah, New York, Brooklyn.
Oh my God, we're all over the place. And Yablun, you're in LA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, Mario Miscione, co-EP, director, dark web aficionado. Let's begin. We have so many guests, and I'm transferring the pseudo hosting duties to Roxy and Mario this week.
Yes.
Now we're taking over. Thank you.
Yeah. So try to be more obnoxious than I was with that opening.
We'll do our accents.
Okay, so I feel like since this is the Viral episode, and Viral is the longest B story of the whole series, it's a beast. You want to start there, Roxy, and we'll have a couple questions for Dora and Cole.
Yes, of course. First of all, I want to swing this to Michael. Michael, this is coming from your dark, horrific, sick brain. So tell us a little bit about... It's a compliment for a dark web.
I know. I take it as one.
Exactly. So we want to know a little bit about the genesis behind this particular anthology. And also, second part question is, what is it like to juggle so many responsibilities on this show and having to wear that director's hat for this one? And go.
And now I have to juggle responsibilities with this answer because it's multi-part. Let's see. The genesis. I'm trying to think what the genesis of the idea was. I think it just came from my own dealings with hypochondria and anxiety and Google searching anytime that I think I'm sick. And in the past have convinced myself that I am sick with something, and even like manifested symptoms only to find out that I'm just crazy and full of anxiety and uncertainty. So I think that was like the initial concept. There was the barnacles in the episode. That's a true story. I can't name names, and I actually don't even know who all of them were. But when I was in college, a couple people slept together, and one of them wound up with barnacles on their face. And it was sort of like the talk of fraternity, sorority row, So the I don't think that they were as gigantic and disgusting that Veronica created, but somebody had sex, somebody wound up with barnacles, and it turned into like, kind of like the hysteria, gossip, blah, blah, blah. And luckily, I'm old enough that we didn't have Instagram and all that stuff at the time. But that was the initial concept. And then it was like in this container of social media and cyberbullying and, Instagram and Snapchat. And there was at one point an app that kind of rated your dates. So that's kind of where the app idea came from. Like, how good is he at kissing? How good is she at this and that, which is horrific. So that's why it's a horror story. And what was the other question? The other question was
also like balancing the roles of writer, director, producer, actor.
Well, yeah. It's hard to juggle stuff. You always feel like you're letting somebody down or letting yourself down, or you always feel like there's something that you could have done better. Luckily, by the time we got to Viral, all the acting stuff that I had to do in the show was done. And Viral was the last, big chunk of filming. So by that point, I did have like somewhat of a more singular focus, even though we were still editing and doing all kinds of crazy shit. But basically, it's tough and it always feels like you're screwing something up. But it's, if you choose to do something on your own, or not on your own, but if you choose to kind of like create something, then you make do with what you have, and you're responsible for seeing it through. And I had to practice acceptance a lot, that I didn't always get what I wanted, or let somebody down, or didn't make the day, or didn't get a shot I wanted, or whatever. So I practiced a lot of acceptance. My therapist taught me that word, that term. Practice.
Congratulations, darling. That's growth.
Practicing acceptance. I even told Allison that. I remember one day we walked in on the dorm room set where Dora and Cole, it was supposed to be much smaller, one window, tighter dorm room. And Sheldon, you were there. We walked in and it was this giant dorm room with 3 windows. And Allison was like, they screwed it up. It's too late to fix it. Like, cause they built the set over the weekend and we weren't allowed to see it before that. And I was like, Allison, I'm going to practice acceptance. And then Sheldon and I made the decision that we were just going to not shoot one whole side of the dorm, make it look smaller. So you never really saw the door side of the dorm, except for briefly in like a webcam shot. Acceptance.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent answer.
Thank you. It was very long.
No, not at all. Mario, your turn.
Okay, you're not checking on her again.
She's all alone, Estelle.
You got daddy issues because he left. I got daddy issues because mine won't leave. I mean, can't we just have fun?
Picky paces. Crawling out of her skin. More. I want more.
D. I know you're a queen bee back in Ohio, but LA doesn't grade on the curve. I'm legacy and I'm local, so think of me as your West Coast fairy godmother. College is all about reinvention. Who you know takes you further than what you know in this town, so stop driving yourself nuts over belch tests and get out. Don't. I know. I was being funny. Funny sells, right? Sex sells too, so why don't we ditch the uniform and get you some, like...
Oh my God.
Hey, what are you doing? You'll thank me for this. Rotten Tomatoes for dating. People follow you, rate dates, hookups, how good you kiss. Don't have a high score. Not gonna score. Luckily, you're a clean slate for now.
What's your score?
P10. Daddy was an early investor.
All right, so Dora and Cole, your relationship in this as Dorothy and Estelle it's kind of like the core of the whole thing. And Dorothy is sort of this intense, creative person who sort of kind of falls into this app that she's using in these relationships. And Cole, your character Estelle is super manipulative and bitchy and hilarious and has some really funny lines. So Dora first. What do you feel like you have in common with Dorothy, and what do you feel like is different? Because she's a very sort of specific character.
Well, I guess the things that I kind of like had in common with Dorothy was that she kind of has a weird sheltered upbringing, and that, you know, it was like sort of insinuated that her mom was probably pretty like Christian and like very like overbearing and stuff like that. So definitely, and like whenever we had like the scene at the party, I could definitely relate to that feeling, because I remember, because I had always gone to like private Christian schools, and so like whenever I would like, you know, started like making friends like outside of that circle, or, you know, was like going to parties and things like that for the first time, I was always kind of like off to the side, like, I don't know what to say, where should I put my hands, I don't know who to talk to. So I guess she and I were like similar in that regard, but I feel like her kind of like naive like positivity and stuff like that, I don't know that I've ever really possessed that per se. I could always like relate more to the, like the downward spiral than the like everything's possible, you know, like I was never really that upbeat. I was always kind of a little bit more nihilistic, I suppose. So in a lot of ways we were kind of similar in terms that we were like very sheltered, but like I was always a little bit more cynical and kind of more like, in actuality, more like Cole's character of like a dark sense of humor, or like saying things for shock value or something like that. So it was interesting to relate to both characters, but to be portraying only one.
Did you do anything specific to prepare for Dorothy? Because she is kind of different than you.
I don't know if I necessarily did anything specific to prepare. I think I just like, you know, kind of related to her in terms of like, oh, like certain people that like I grew up with, you know, that like we were raised
Oh, we're losing you a little bit.
Oh, the dark web's taking her into the
The dark.
upbeat, like everything's good. Can you hear me or no?
Yeah, you just maybe go back a sentence. So I lost you for a second.
We lost.
Okay. Like I had like people that I grew up with, you know, that were just like a little bit more like upbeat and positive, like in their mindset. So I guess I sort of just kind of like drew from them and like emulated them. Like for some reason right now, whether I did it consciously or not, I'm thinking of this girl that I went to school with. Her name was Lizzie Lincoln, and she was super fucking like cute, and just like she walked around like on her tippy toes. Like she was just like really upbeat and positive and sweet, and was always like, come on guys, we can do it, you know. So whether I really like consciously realized it or not, I probably like emulated a personality of someone that I knew. And then like the downward spiral, that was easy. You just have to hate yourself.
No problem in this industry.
We can all relate.
We can all relate to that.
No prep needed.
Okay, Cole. So same sort of question. What do you have in common with Estelle, and what do you feel like your differences are?
Yeah, so Dora, it's kind of crazy that you said that you felt some more inspiration from Estelle, because when I first read the script, I thought that I was going to play Dorothy.
Ah.
So like that's just kind of the character that I associated with the most, and to hear that, you know, Estelle was what I was, you know, going for, and also I had blonde hair at the time, which was kind of perfect timing, because Michael, we had talked and you were like, I kind of feel like she has blonde hair, and I replied, oh, I just dyed my hair blonde a week ago.
Yeah, the timing was perfect.
It worked out perfectly. But I drew a lot of inspiration again from, well, as Dora said, people that I grew up with. Also, I kind of came up in an age of social media, and I was never able to attach myself to it. I didn't really like it, or didn't really know how to work it, honestly. So I really did a lot of research and looked into top influencers and the way that they presented themselves, where they came from originally. And a lot of them did come from nothing but created these huge personalities for themselves. So doing that character work of creating who she was as a person and then adding an alter ego almost to her that was this bigger character, because she does at the end come back to play this Dorothy-like character. You know, she does evolve into something that she could have possibly been before she created this bigger personality for herself. So I think it was nice to be able to draw from my similarities to Dora's character, as well as create this alter ego, Estelle.
That must have been so much fun.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Like I'm so thankful to have that role. I've never played a character like that. Honestly, all the auditions I get are more victimized roles, characters who have been through a very traumatic experience, and to be on that high of power is something that I also think like it evolved myself. I think I am more confident because I was able to play Estelle. I found things that I did really like about myself through her. So I'm so thankful for being able to play her, because I think it really kind of, when you're in your early 20s, you're evolving, and what better way to have a character that's not like you so that you can kind of find the parts that you do like about those characters. So I'm so thankful that I was able to play Estelle.
What a twisted way to find your inner self.
Super juicy to play a villain or a villainess. I think that's what every actor wants to do. I know Michael has a lot of roles that he's written for himself that are juicy on that dark side as well. You know, I think we always want
I want to see Michael play a bitchy role.
Yes!
Seen it in real life.
All right, so we're going to transition.
Me and Michael at lunch.
Like Hattie, yeah, no. Like all the way. Sheldon!
Woo!
Sheldon, introduce who you have on your lap.
Oh, this is Camila. She's a blind 11-year-old Yorkie that we've had for a month. And she's like extremely attached to me. So I'm like here on the computer and she's on the other side of the room, and she's like she's blind, so she's pinballing all over the place. So then I'm like, okay, you know what, let me just put her on my lap, let her calm down. So extra guest.
What's her name again?
Oh, very cute.
Camila.
Cammy
for short.
Cammy for short. Sheldon, I know this shoot was a while ago, but dig deep into the recesses of your memory for this. What was it like sort of creating the visual language of Viral, because it does stand out very significantly from the rest of the anthologies. So what was it like to do that with Michael?
It was a very fun collaboration. I think Michael had been asking me to come on. I don't know when the shoot schedule had shifted or whatever it was, but I think you had asked me probably a year before we had shot it, or maybe 2 years, I forget when. But...
Yeah, and you kept rejecting me.
Well, I was busy. I was in New York.
He does that a lot. Sheldon likes to reject.
No.
Very mysterious. He's a mysterious man.
No. So finally, our schedules aligned, and just the whole process was well. First off, Michael was so passionate, you know, about this story. Like now I know why. Right? Well, I knew why when we shot it, but it's so much of you in there, and you were just having so much fun with it, because I remember us talking. You had so many references. You were bringing up Brian De Palma, Fargo TV show. Arrival had just come out, so you were bringing up Arrival, and we had a lot of things to pull from in terms of how to cover
Repulsion. That was the big
Repulsion.
one.
Yeah, like Dora's playing this character who's just, you know, she's tripping out in like the worst way possible. So it was really fun to kind of bring that out to life. And I think you're a really good collaborator, because you were able to push me and just tell me, hey, like, you know, go for it. Use different cameras, you know, use different styles. You put prisms in front of lenses, you know, do crazy, weird stuff.
You put the prism in front of the lens.
But then I brought it up first, and you're like, oh yeah, let's do it, you know. Using a split diopter, which is, you know, something trippy we use with the lens. So like,
okay, what's a diopter for our non-filmmaker audience?
Well, for a few shots in the film, we use a split diopter, which means two characters in different planes of the frame are in focus at the same time. Usually when you're focusing on something close to the camera, like my hand, I would be out of focus, right? But then a diopter cuts the frame in half and it brings both things into focus. So we were able to play with that a lot. We even used it in ways that you're not supposed to use it for. So I don't know. It was all very wild and fun and bizarre.
But what's that
disgusting
diopter supposed to convey emotionally?
So what you're doing, Roxy, that's a fisheye.
Okay. Okay.
Which we also use. You
didn't answer my question.
A split diopter doesn't convey a certain emotion off the bat. It's got to be, dependent on what we're filming and what we're telling. And I think Michael with this one had a lot of range of emotions that you're doing, depending on where Dora what's her name? Dora is Estelle is cold.
Estelle.
Dorothy, Dora. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of where they were, right? Yeah, it is tricky.
Life imitating art.
Right, and the visual language kind of just proceeded from there, right? We used certain more elements as the downward spiral continued, and by the end, it just tripped out. She's on the ground, and there's glass blood, and we're like distorted.
They also used it in Us, right?
Yeah, one scene where she's like at the chalkboard at the end. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It was
They
meant
totally
to
copied
like,
it. They copied it from us.
Yeah, they obviously they copied. I mean, it's been around since we copied it from
film.
but they copied it from us. Yeah, it was meant to convey like the duality of the two girls, and like they're both kind of becoming more like the other. If you track throughout the episode, Estelle is starting to dress and behave more like Dorothy because she wants to get Jay because she thinks that's what attracts him. And then, especially at the beginning, Dora's kind of starting to act more like Estelle by like going to parties and changing her outfit and everything, and trying to fit in this college, crazy like spring breakers kind of atmosphere. So it was like split diopter was them kind of always in each other's sphere.
That's true, actually, because in the beginning we use it to conventionally where we, someone's far, someone's close, but then as their identities start to merge, and I think towards the end when the big reveal happens, when Estelle kind of tells her this is what she's been doing the whole time, it's a kind of like F you. And we use a split diopter in a very trippy way where we're like pulling focus with this, so the focal plane was shifting and like Dora was really close to us, her eye was like in our face, and then I don't know, it was just really fun to be able to play with these creative tools because not every director I guess is willing to go there, but you were very game, Michael.
I wanted the toys. I didn't always know what the toys were called, but I was like, what's that shiny thing? And how do we get that shiny look? And then you would like the actual terminology.
Well, that's the thing. You were just like thinking out of the box, which was for a cinematographer is always a pleasure.
Michael, do you want to talk a little bit more about your references? Sheldon mentioned a couple there, but things you were specifically kind of invoking.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Fargo was a reference. That's true because they used Fargo season 2, the split screen.
Yeah, split screen.
But there were other split screens like Brian De Palma, Carrie split screen was a big reference for like the music. It's almost like a music video sequence, and Roman Polanski's apartment trilogy, specifically Repulsion, which I love. There's like the David Cronenberg nasty body horror stuff that I find actually funny, but most people are disgusted by. There was like a dash of Sofia Coppola virgin suicides in there. We talked about that, Sheldon. And a sprinkle of Darren Aronofsky. Style. And then there's a graphic novel called The Black Hole that Charles Burns wrote. That Dora read, I think she read The Black Hole. I think I gave it to you. Did you read it? Or maybe I gave it to you and you didn't read it.
I still have it right here, dude.
Paul read.
You have it.
Oh my God.
It was right down here.
What's it about again? I think I probably did a little dive into it.
It's about like a crazy STD on a college campus, but from that it like turns into a much different story.
Traditional young adult novel.
Yeah,
but it's really well drawn and well written. You guys should read it. And then this movie called The Innocents by Jack Clayton, if anybody has seen that, which is written by Truman Capote.
you sent Russell like a little overview of kind of what the episode will be like. And I love that. That was the thing that sold me.
Oh,
I
he
think it
sent that to you? Oh, that's cool.
was a 7-page PowerPoint or something.
Yeah, it was long.
Loved it.
My God, I didn't do
Well, that's
any
kind of like the
PowerPoints for my
benefit of
episode.
That's kind of the benefit of when an actor is directing, because like Cole was saying, he sent us, like, we watched Repulsion and he made a playlist, which I actually found on my Dropbox like not too long ago. I was like, what is this? And so we had like playlists, movie references, like different things to check out and stuff. And so it's kind of nice because it was showing us all what's like kind of going beyond the page, but also like, you know, because there's what's on the page and then there's like, this is the tone that we want to say it in, you know. So it really kind of like informed the style of everything and like, you know,
I think
what
it's really
you wanted all those breakdowns to look like. Sorry.
I think it's nice when you have a director that's also an actor, because tools that they would give themselves. And if he had not been an actor, we would have still found those things, or maybe a little less than, because he knows the project better than anyone. But because he gave us those tools, it gave us the ability to really give our characters even more life. He gave us the music, which is a huge influence in my process. And that was really wonderful. And then, yeah, also that lookbook, it just, you knew exactly what kind of style, what he wanted. And I think it's always great when you get an actor that's also director that's an actor. You're so talented at both. So.
Oh, shit.
And you can do it all.
I know. Ugh.
Talking about style and, you know, all the different techniques, going over to Doug. So this episode was really slick in the editing, and it also had a ton of split screens and all sorts of things going on constantly. Like, what, can you talk a little bit about what that was like, kind of editing that and putting that together?
It was slightly complicated, but me
Yeah.
and Michael definitely pulled through. The collaboration was great. I think, Fargo, I watched the whole season right before we started on it, and it was very inspirational. And it was a pain in the ass getting those things perfectly lined up, but I think it turned out pretty good. Some of the montage sequences were awesome. I think my favorite part about all the split screens was, I called it the roulette, where there's like more different things sliding in different directions, because she's kind of gambling on this dating life, this new perspective on life, and it all comes crashing down. And that was probably one of the most fun projects I've worked on. And Mike's a very good collaborator. We'll spend like the first 2 hours of every session just talking about movies and be like, oh crap, we gotta work.
Yeah.
Was that all done in, you guys edited in Premiere? And
Yeah,
so
all in Premiere.
Effects, like the first pass of effects, you know, in Premiere, in the edit?
Oh yeah. I didn't want to bounce back and
Beard. I love the beard. It looks so good on you. Is that a quarantine beard? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no.
I'm distracted.
no, it was thanks. No, it was actually like this long when quarantine started, and then I started actually going into work and had to trim it up a little bit, even though I realized that's pointless because I'm wearing a mask the whole time. So
Let it grow. Let it grow.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Keep going.
no, we can talk about my beard. It's more important.
I mean, quarantine has really made us all kind of crazy in our own different ways. I know that I am obviously a better solo drinker than I've ever been before. I could go into solo drinking championships, but that's not what we're talking about today.
We can talk about that today.
No, we're throwing the question back to you again, honey. So you talked a little bit about like the difficulties in terms of production challenges. Well, aside from that dorm room situation, what would you consider was your most challenging aspect in terms of this project, whether it be in production or post? Because I know that this was a really ambitious one for both. So take us a little bit through that timeline.
I'd say just making the days was the hardest part, because it was a long script and we've had 5 days for this.
We shot 6 days.
Maybe it was 6 days. And, you know, I tend to overwrite. So there was a lot of like stuff on the page. And there was a lot of prosthetics that would hold Dora up. You know, her and Veronica would, you know, they were doing those amazing prosthetics on her face. So that would hold things up. I would say that was the biggest challenge filming it, was just making the days, and the post was difficult. There was some like complex VFX things with the spider coming out of her ear. That was tricky. The first spider that came in was too big and I had already proved it. And then I kept going back to it and I was like, it is too big, isn't it? No, it's fine. But it is too, no, it's fine. I was like, Doug, is it too big? You're like, yeah, it's pretty big. And I was like, God. So then we had to go back.
A lot of things are pretty big and bigger than we expect.
Yeah, but bigger's not always better.
Surprisingly big.
Yeah, bigger's not always better. I wanted a smaller spider, a smaller Black Widow. So that was hard. And there was a lot of music to find for this episode, and the montage that Doug so effortlessly created was tricky, finding the right shots that could blend in with the other shots and slide into those. And then there was that whole damn app. Forgetting what the name of the app was at this point. Transparency.
Yes.
Transparent? No, transparent.
No, it was transparent.
Oh, that's a show,
right? But not fully spelled out that way.
Well,
I think it's transparency.
There were so many legal hurdles.
Yeah, it changed a number of times from what it was.
We're back in post-production. You were asking me to...
Oh, wait, we're losing Cole.
Cole was on mute.
You just got cut off somehow.
I was just trying to say my daddy was an investor.
Yeah, daddy was an investor. So she's
perfect 10. Perfect 10. P10. People were like, what's P10? I'm like, perfect 10. But yeah, basically we like designed an app. So, figuring out how it would work and what the rules of the app were. So that took a lot of thinking.
Who came up with all the comments for that thing? I feel like they really pulled out some of that deep-seated anger.
Some of those comments, we would do our QC screenings, and I would like audibly gasp at some of those comments because they were so fucked up.
Yeah, I came up with some, but the real bad ones came from Kyle.
Yeah, some of them were so fucked up.
He had some terrible ones. But I was reading articles after the fact about cyberbullying and everything, and that stuff like kill yourself and like
it's totally it was very realistic. I mean that's what people post, but holy shit.
Yeah, like looking back on it now, maybe I would have pulled back on some of those because they're really obscene and
But
this is the best.
But going off of that, all right, okay, so obviously Viral is all about sort of a social media horror story. I guess, does anyone have any social media horror stories? Do you guys have stories where something really weird or gross has happened to you online? And would you like to share it with an audience right now?
I mean, for me, I have definitely been through a lot of terrible social media things. My privacy has been hacked multiple times, and it is so disgusting and disturbing. And I think, Michael, you say like, I wish maybe I held back a little bit on some of the things that were posted, but they happen. And I think it's important for people to see, because then they realize how disgusting it is.
Yeah.
We don't really know the effects until we see it. And so I think this episode is really important because when I watched it, I felt really bad. So I think as much as it is entertainment, it's also a lesson.
Yeah.
The cautionary tale of the way these are powered. Yeah, on the internet.
Yeah, I can totally agree with Cole, just because, recently I decided to make my profile private. Sorry, I'm looking for a light switch. I decided to make my profile private because I was getting a lot of really weird requests to see nude pregnancy photos, which I thought was really, really gross. No. And I was like,
I'm not surprised.
Ew. I've never gotten more people asking me to make an OnlyFans as when I became pregnant, and I thought that was really disturbing and gross. But then also when you post about anything sort of political, there's bound to be people who disagree with you or whatever. And like my daughter's biracial, and someone sent me like a direct message being like, well, you look too big for an abortion, but hopefully COVID takes care of your inward baby.
Ooh.
And that was the day that I was like, you know what? I don't think strangers need to know anything about me anymore. So instead of deleting my page, I turned it on private. And then when you turn it on private, you can remove followers so they can't see you anymore. So I like went in and I just like removed anybody that I didn't know personally. And so I went from having like, I don't know, like 10,000 to like 300 because it's like only people I know. And honestly, I'm so much happier now that I don't have to like worry about who's like seeing my stuff or anything like that, you know, because people are really intense and mean, and they'll take your photos and then repost them, and sometimes you don't like know where they end up, you know, like you could be on vacation and you like post a picture like on the beach in your bikini, and some weird dude can like literally repost it and put it on a porn site. And so something that was really innocent becomes something like really gross. And I was just kind of like, okay, like I think privacy is like the name of the game right
Well,
now.
this is really interesting. I mean, I'm going to ask a question that has nothing to do with the episode right now, but more so about like you, Dora, Cole, Michael, about handling your mental health when you are a person with disability. Like what happens? How do you deal with that? In terms of like, you know, being an actor, knowing that your work is going to be seen, and now with social media allowing people access to you, and how do you manage that?
Well, I guess I managed it by kicking everybody out. I just kind of decided that it wasn't worth it for me, you know. And there's been people that have like, since I made my thing private, it's weird because they'll want to see your things, but they'll be like, why would someone in marginal movies have a private thing? So they like give you like a backhanded compliment, and it's just kind of like, you're the reason why I have a private thing. Because it kind of like, it made me just feel as though like, you know, I would rather the work just like stand on its own. You know, it's everyone's different, but like I personally have never gotten cast off of social media. I've never had a director be like, oh wow, like your social media presence is fire, want to be in my movie? Like that's never how it's like worked for me. I've never been able to leverage it that way. So I figured, you know, if this isn't making me money, then like why am I putting any energy into it whatsoever, you know? So I just kind of decided that my social media was only going to be for like my actual social life and not so much my work stuff. But that's just me personally.
How about you, Cole and Michael?
I mean, for me, I've definitely been told by agents and managers that you need to have a bigger presence on social media. And I have a step back from social media because it isn't what I want to do. It's not my career. My career is acting. I feel very passionate about doing film and television and theater. And I don't really have interest in having a social media presence, and having the people who help you at work tell you that you do need to have one. It's very intimidating and I think unnecessary in a lot of ways. I think social media can be very harsh, and I've definitely struggled with it. There are a lot of negative people in the world who don't know you. And if they only got to know you, or, you know, if you could help each other out in some way, that's great. But fortunately, it's not like that. And I think there needs to be some type of separation between social media and your actual social life. And that's what I've kind of developed is I've worked on almost a character from myself in my social media, because it does help me differentiate what is truly myself and what needs to be put out in order for me to get more work. which is really wrong, but fortunately that's today's age. And I really want to work. So unfortunately, I will do anything to get to where I want to be because I love this industry and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Michael.
I haven't had the worst experience with it.
Women get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not that popular on social media.
Don't lie.
You're an influencer, Michael. Stop
You're an
lying.
influencer.
I
Shut
pretend
up.
I'm an influencer, but I've never nobody's ever been influenced by me. I'd like to think that I am sometimes, but I'm not. But yeah, I think it's harder. And like I've had some creepy messages or creepy people, but like I think it'd be different if I was a woman. It would be more like threatening, I think. And I think guys get more invasive with women, especially actresses on social media, than people do with me. I'm mostly I have fun interacting with fans of this show or like Circle. Those people write into us a lot, and I write back to them, and I think they're really nice most of the time. Sometimes they can like have backhanded compliments.
I've gotten a couple bitchy Circle emails.
Yeah. There's some.
For the most part, they're very nice.
But in my mind, I'm so like dumb. I'm just like, well, at least they watched it.
Right. I'm like, thank you. I always like, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, I'm like, at least we got the eyeballs. And they usually have finished it too. And I'm like, well, they finished it, so even better. Same with Dark Web. Like, not all of our reviews on Dark Web are good, but most of them are like, I got to the last episode and I was so offended. And I was like,
they get mad about the last episode, which is so silly.
Yeah, but I engage with them because, and my friends are like, why do you write back and everything? But it's like, you guys probably know, all of you, like in LA, especially, to move forward in your career, you have to deal with people on a daily basis that don't even like your work or don't even watch it, but like you're supposed to kiss ass because they help you get to the next step or whatever, or are good relationships. So I'm like, well, why should I like have to kiss ass with people that are jerks that don't really care about my work? Really, I'm talking about like, who I'm talking about. Well, people in the industry. But then it's like, but I'm supposed to ignore people that like actually have watched it and spent time or money on it. And it's like, okay, well, I feel like I owe like, right. And I can do it because I don't have that many people writing into me. So I don't know. I have a mix, but then I like to pull back sometimes and take a break from social media too. Cause it can get just all the message, all the like, DMs, like Facebook Messenger, Twitter DMs. I can't keep up with all that crap. I want you guys to teach me how to do it. Because I'll miss so many messages. People will be
We're too old.
Honestly,
but people
I don't even understand Snapchat. I don't understand Snapchat. Like, you're lucky I'm on Twitter. I didn't even get portals for a long time, and now I do. But like before, I didn't.
Times that I've sent a private message to my story.
No. Okay. One thing I've noticed about certain apps, I haven't really noticed on Facebook Messenger, on the phone, I'll hit one and I'll start typing and send, and it is sent to a completely different person. And usually it's not anything really bad, but fuck me if it is. Like what if I just am talking so much shit about someone and I thought I was in a different thing? Like, so it is super glitchy, the app. And so there have been several times when I've sent the wrong message to someone where I'm just like,
whoops. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah. No. I like to pull back, take like a 2-week, month-long break.
Well, I do think that social media is, there have been countless sort of studies about this, but it is really toxic. And dark web as a whole is very much about that. Like, Molly's reaction to social media is very, it has a very serious, like, sort of mental effect on her. And like, it's seeing all of these people have these perfect lives while she's unhappy, only serves to kind of make her more dissatisfied in her own life. And I think that was something we put in because it's real. It's something that all of us who use social media can kind of relate to, I think. And I think that it is good, like I'm on Instagram, for example, but I'm very careful who I follow. I have friends who follow all of these like beautiful models and all of these things, and they're always sending me these, and I'm just like, why are you doing this to yourself? I don't want to see these beautiful people. They just make me feel like on the beach. They're gorgeous on the beach somewhere. I don't need to see that shit. I don't need to
follow me.
Yeah, like, come on. So I think that social media can be really useful in forming connections and staying connected, but it is it can be so toxic too, and that's what viral's all about, really.
Yeah.
You have to be so careful how you use it.
And people need to be nicer on Twitter. Ooh, like people say stuff on Twitter they would never say to your face.
Well, no, I probably say it to your face, but I say terrible things on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I'm not. No, but just in general, like I feel like on Twitter, everything's about like so and so slammed so and so.
Oh yeah. Everyone loves a fight. Everyone loves being canceled. So and so is over party. That's always trending.
Oh yeah. Twitter's chaos.
So viral is a huge part of this episode, but there is also an A story too.
Forgot about the A story.
So
it's writing.
Something's off.
What?
She's not here. I looked everywhere.
Okay. No one's been here in weeks.
All right, well, just calm down. There's a reason she wanted us to be here. We just have to figure out what the reason is, okay? You guys hear that?
We know who you are. If you have weapons, drop them now.
I fucking knew it. They followed us so they could get to Molly.
What did you do with us?
What's the matter with you?
Get off of me!
Get out of here right now!
We're coming in there. Life's gonna be a whole lot easier. We won't give us what we want.
Fuck you!
Let's get out of here.
There's a back door through the kitchen. Come on.
Oh, come on, follow us. Let's go.
Hey, you guys, wait!
We don't have time for this. What is it?
Access approved.
Holy shit.
So Roxy, Tim, and Michael. Let's talk a little bit about the A story. The A story here finds our characters arriving at, well, there's a diner sequence in the beginning, and they're also arriving at Molly's cabin for the first time. And I wasn't there on that shoot, actually. I was there for some pickups later on, but I wasn't there for that shoot. But the overnight shoot, the cabin stuff.
Yes, part of it.
Part of it. Talk a little bit about what that was like.
Oh, yeah. So at the end of episode 7, they discovered the trapdoor.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the whole. So basically, the episode 7A story includes the diner, and then it includes arriving at the cabin, getting shot out by the agents, and discovering the trapdoor.
I just remember Lana eating those French fries from McDonald's in the diner scene, and me wanting some of those French fries.
I was going to ask you about the diner scene, though. Do you remember the diner scene? First of all, it was day for night. That place was canvassed, and it was 100.
It was like 1 billion degrees.
Oh my God, it was so hot. How do you not remember? It was like everybody was sweating. Oh, it was so hot, and all those cars passing in the background are fake.
Oh yes, all of those cars that you see while they're having their food are completely digital. We approved so many shots of just headlights coming past the window.
And it was hard because they were never in sync.
I know, we were always like, is this right? Are they matching this other shot?
Nope. That diner was like very narrow. You could barely get like a whole crew in there. It was Lana, Mike, Ethan, and Roxy, so it was like very enclosed, so only a few people could be in that scene or on that set.
And it was 100 degrees.
And that.
Wow. I don't know. I just remember like that we had like one night to shoot all the exteriors for episode 7 and episode 8. Well, not episode 8. No, but episode 7, all the exterior, like all of that. Yeah, that was all like one night, right?
All one night. Everything from the end of 7 all the way through 8 was one. Well, there was some.
We picked up a couple exteriors with some agents.
But like, for the fact that like we originally just had it like as a one night shoot was just like freaking crazy, like so insane.
There till the AM.
Oh my God. And then there were like stunts. Remember, there was like a bunch of like, Sibo and the whole gang, like the gunshots and like.
Gun and the glass and
then the block. I was just like, what? What were we on that night? Like. we were on a lot of stuff that was crazy. So yeah, I think that night, the last night of shooting, was definitely the hardest, and I said it in like a previous roundtable episode.
Was that where did that fall on the actual schedule?
It was the last day.
It was the final thing. It was the last thing you guys shot.
Yeah.
That?
My goodness.
Yeah, it was.
Because Roxy passed out right after it.
I passed out right afterwards. I was like driving home in like 7 a.m. Valley traffic, and I'm like, I'm gonna spend $50 on a motel and just knock out. And I literally could not fathom how anybody else from crew or cast were actually gonna make it home, because it was a rough night. Like we had so much to do. There were so many things, and it was so specific to like everything we were doing. We also picked up like Sibo's Simongile's her Amy like conversation for episode 6. Which met her date with Molly for the first time in that house.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yep.
It's upstairs.
Yep.
We did?
shot
On
that.
that
Yep.
night?
That location was also at the cabin house.
Weird. I didn't realize
We
that.
did a lot. We planned a lot of stuff that night. I
only know that because we put surveillance cameras all over that house for the episode 8 stuff, for the background screens.
Yeah, no, but that was that same night too.
Rooms. Yeah.
What is? I feel like Tim's audio is not working. Tim, what are you saying? Speak now.
I was just saying that whole scene with Molly and Amy, that conversation, I always thought that was at Molly's house where we shot that scene was her, but
We shot Molly at the house, but Amy's side was at the cabin.
I did not know
Weird.
that.
And
Oh,
young
that's
Amy
another
was in the
movie.
cabin too, actually.
Oh
That's
my
right.
goodness.
Young Amy.
The only reason
Mario was there for that one.
I
Yeah.
remembered I freaked out at Lars on the last night, and I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get everything."
We were all cranky. We were all
cranky that night. I was like, "There's no way." I'm like, "Bury me here in this ground for failing everyone."
I just remember growing up, I had to come at a different time because Mike and company used my car as the Scooby mobile, and I had to take an Uber to go pick up external hard drives to bring to the set. So when I got there, it's like, wow, this definitely is Cabin in the Woods. Perfect.
There was a lot happening that night. But I'm also very curious. I'm just going to throw this out to everybody that's on this panel right now is what are you working on next? Because we're still in quarantine in August of 2020. And I know everyone's focused on different things. And what are you all doing as actors? I know Dora's about to poop out a baby. He's back at work. Sheldon's now a rescue dog caretaker. So just give us all a little insight on what it's like being an artist during this time, and what struggles are you currently going through, and how are you maintaining your sense of self? Anyone? Jump in.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm about to poop out a baby. Woo! Yeah, so I'm about to do that, but I actually did shoot a movie during quarantine. It was like a COVID safe movie or whatever, with this really cool chick, Emily. And so my character just like calls the main character several times, like via FaceTime. So they like sent me a microphone and some lights and stuff like that. So I was able to shoot all of my stuff on my phone. I think in general, quarantine is just kind of making people a lot more creative. Like they're writing ancillary stories where maybe there are just 1 or 2 characters and they happen to be people who are quarantined together, you know. And you know, you can make like a really, I mean, essentially she's making a really cool psychological thriller horror movie where she's like pretty much the only character that's in like the main frame for the most part, except for like a couple shots here and there. So I think it's making people more creative, but in terms of like things on the horizon, you know, little auditions and stuff like that are trickling in, like projects that are going to be made like once it's kind of like considered safe to do so. So it's slowly starting to pick back up. you know, and the writers, at least that I know, are kind of been using this time to like just crank out a bunch of different scripts so that by the time people are like, all right, we need content, like they're ready to go essentially. So I think it's just kind of made people more creative about how they're going to tell their stories or how they're going to achieve something good with a small crew. So it's kind of like I think it's kind of a good thing, honestly.
See, you are positive like Dorothy. See, you're up.
Well, maybe it's just because I don't like people that much. And so sometimes when I'm on a big set, I'm like, you're not really necessary. You're not really necessary.
Same.
You're in the way. You're in the way. So like keeping things like smaller and contained is kind of bringing people back to like, okay, like a good story. That's a novel idea. Like what makes a good movie or a good show, a good story. And you don't really need a ton of shit to achieve that. It kind of gets things back to like bare bones, you know? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, who knows? We might have like a new Blair Witch project come out of this. Be pretty interesting.
It'll be everyone's Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
How many Zoom movies are we going to have to suffer through after this pandemic's over? So many.
I got a great idea. It'll be about someone's birthday. And what they're most afraid of is people singing to them. And it's all out of sync. That would be the
Oh no!
Zoom project.
Crazy. I was just recently like doing callback chemistry reads on Zoom, and it is the strangest fucking thing. And like one of the scenes was like a very intense scene between two actors, and you know how Zoom cuts out audio, and so like after a while you see one actress going like, and the other one's like, I'm trying to think I'm matching this, and it's just such an interesting experience, like having to navigate that in this new way. Wild.
How are you surviving it?
It's been nuts. I mean, for a solid 2 months, there was nothing coming in, but that did force me. I did co-write a short and produce it, direct it, and act in it as well over quarantine. So that was my first time doing anything like that. But yeah, it has forced us as creatives to find different projects to work on our own, to get around all of the kind of restrictions that have been put in place. And fortunately, I did do a feature right before COVID, so that's being edited. Will probably come out right after COVID ends. And then other than that, it's been starting to pick up. I've had every audition that I've had in the past 2 weeks, like 2 weeks, has been on tape.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're taking all the restrictions very seriously. A lot of productions are putting people into compounds for 2 weeks and then introducing them into the rest of the crew shortly after. So I think SAG's done a really good job with kind of coming up with their contracts on the fly. And I'm just excited for things to start happening again. I want to be on set and creating content. So hopefully we're back.
A lot of Christmas movies, I've noticed.
A
lot of Christmas movies being cast. Am I the only one that's noticed that?
No, I've seen a lot of them.
A lot of them, and a lot of my friends got cast, and then I like have had a bunch come in. A lot of Christmas movies.
Yeah, I think kind of like Evil Laugh, I wasn't going to be able to like audition or do a lot anyway this year. So it kind of like helped me not have FOMO because I'm like, haha, nobody's doing shit.
It's so great. We actually have to confront like so much of our own personal stuff outside of the identity we've created in our careers, you know? Like Sheldon is just a dog dad.
Yeah, what are you doing, Sheldon? I imagine you're still doing
Trying to get him to work with me. He keeps rejecting me. It's the same old story.
Wait, and Doug's back at work. I want to hear
taking care of rescue.
Sheldon, what are you doing? What are you doing, Doug? Because you're working.
Well, other than taking care of rescue dogs, it's kind of like, you know how athletes need to stay in shape, they're like training, waiting for the season to kick back again. It's kind of the same thing here, I guess. It's like reading a lot, writing. I'm writing like 2 features just for fun.
Oh, wow.
And then
humble brag, sure.
and then
for fun.
whether or not it's
Everyone
good, whether or not it's good, yeah. And then just watching a ton of things.
Yeah.
You know,
my movie list is gonna rival your movie list this year. I've watched so much stuff. You know how we always compare our lists?
Yeah.
I always have more TV.
Well, your TV list is gonna blow mine away, but
this year less TV, way more movies.
Oh, nice. We'll see in December.
I'm coming for you.
Michael, how's your feature coming along?
It's good. Oh my god, I cut 40 pages out of it. So yeah.
How long was it that you cut 40 pages out of it?
190.
Because it was like almost 200.
I'm sorry. Did you say 190?
190?
You know I have a problem. I mean, you said up top, viral is the longest episode. Like,
I'm like trying to finish a feature, and I'm like on page 79, and I'm like I'm struggling to sort of get there.
No, you're probably better. I have this method that I learned when I was studying at Groundlings that my teacher called crap it out, like shit it out, where it's like you just crap out the whole thing, the ideas, everything into this like big bucket. But then it takes time to go through the bucket and, you know, find the gem in the crap. So, but it's
I think I have
definitely kept me busy.
I tend to be a little bit more like, I think your way is the right way, just write. And I tend to be like, oh, if I don't like this right now, I don't want to put it down. And then
me too.
It cuts you, it holds you back. It does. Yeah. I think what's been interesting about quarantine is, you know, I think everyone always says, if I had the time to do X, I would do it, right? And now here's the thing, we all have the time. And so it's really sort of like now about finding the willpower in quarantine to actually do the thing that you said you would always do.
So true.
Like the real sort of test, I think, of quarantine is just kind of, you know.
I don't know. I think it's been good for that though, like kind of what Dora was saying, because like I don't know how I would have found, because I've been working on the script throughout all of quarantine. It's taken up so much, like, you know, so many hours each per day I work on it. And I was like, how would I have gotten this done if we were in quarantine? It would have taken forever. And because I'm always like,
right,
you know, I believe in multitasking and like, you know, whatever. But I don't know how I could have gotten it done if it wasn't for quarantine. So maybe
I masturbate a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's
it's 7 already. Okay.
Literally everyone on the planet, Roxy.
What's your Pornhub handle? Don't you have a?
You know,
this keeps up much longer.
Honestly,
OnlyFans.
When like the quarantine happened, I was like, my work as a director is going down the drain, and I'm like, I must start off my career as a cam girl to find my sugar daddy or sugar mama or sugar parents that will just take care of me for the rest of my life.
I will send pictures of my feet to whoever will pay for them.
Yes, I mean, Dougie, that's what you're doing, right, Dougie? You haven't told us.
Yeah.
What's your day job?
Right now I'm an assistant colorist at Company 3.
Oh, you're at C3.
Nice.
Yeah.
La la. Were you coloring back then? Back when we were editing this? I didn't know.
No, not really.
I guess I didn't know you
but
could.
yeah, no, I didn't color at all really back then. But I got into it through a friend who's an online editor there, and yeah, it's been pretty dope. And they're,
Hey,
I mean,
so-
very, yeah.
Dougie, like, you know that, like, being a colorist is, like, a very, like, not a lot of people do it, and, like, you get paid a lot doing it once you're good, and you're at Company 3, which is, like, one of the top, like, big giants of colorist people. And so,
What?
are you going to be my sugar daddy? This is the question.
That's
You and your
actually my
beard.
long-term goal.
No,
Okay,
he's
great.
my
That's what I
sugar
do.
You and your
daddy.
beard are taking care of Roxy for the rest of your life. Great. I lived
Dougie's
in that.
gonna be all of our sugar daddies.
I know you
Right.
can't have
Okay, that's a
everyone.
little too far.
This is on record. It's recording right now.
This is on YouTube. And you guys, this is going to go on the Blu-ray, which I just found out about.
Oh, shit.
We're getting a
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
We're getting a Blu-ray. I mean, watch it fall through now that I said it, but
I
yeah.
know. Way to jinx it. Okay, so cannot let this end without asking Michael and Tim specifically, because I am struggling with this one. We have a tradition every week where we ask how many alums from our movie Circle were in this episode of Dark Web. So episode 7, how many alums from Circle were in it? Because I actually don't know.
How can you ask me if you don't know? Oh my God.
Because you'll know.
I think in this episode, there's I'm trying to think. Is there any voiceover cast?
You know what? There's some funny trivia. I remember there was a Circle alum that was going to be one of the agents pursuing the gang, but there was scheduling conflict, so she couldn't do it.
Oh, Mercy.
Yeah.
I think there's only one in this. I think it's me, right?
Okay, so
Let's
I have
look
a
on
question.
IMDb.
I'm not entirely sure about this. In those photos we have of Molly on the fireplace, is her father featured in any of them?
No, that's the next episode.
Her mom is, and then there's that crazy.
The one that you have in your basement.
Oh my god, my favorite photo that we ever did in this show.
There's
Yeah,
a
we
really,
were in the
really.
middle of shooting pickups of this photo, and it's Molly as the Wizard of Oz, as Dorothy, right? And we've superimposed her face on it, and just something about that photo made us laugh so hard. It was so hard to shoot a pickup of that shot because we
It
were
was
just.
so bad. It looks. I can't even.
It was
describe
so
it.
funny. In the show, it looks fine, but like in person, it just we were dying. It was so funny.
It was a real picture of New when she was like 5, but then it was put on a body. It just didn't match, and the face was like. It looked like weird, like Chucky doll. I don't know. Weird. So I think there's only one circle. Me.
That was what I was struggling with, is I couldn't figure out.
There is another.
I don't think there were any. There were no. I didn't know if there were any in Viral that you maybe had as cameos in your party scenes.
The only maybe on the app. No, I don't even think on the app. No, I think this was the only episode that didn't have a lot of circle peeps.
Yep. Episode 8 only had the one Circle alum, which
we'll have at least one in episode 8. That's not Michael.
Cool. So no one knows the answer.
Wait, I want to ask the new.
I tried figuring it out, but I couldn't.
The new peeps, because we've answered this question, Tim, Mario. But what challenged you the most about this segment, and what would you do differently? Because I feel like we're designing these like Zooms for young filmmakers and stuff like that, and to learn from our mistakes. We talk about acceptance. We talked about losing and awards. So. Cole, Sheldon, Doug, Dora, what challenged you the most, and what would you do differently if you could do it all again? Cole starts.
Put right on the spot.
Or we can come back to it if somebody else has an answer.
No, I think what really challenged me the most with Estelle was that she is so different from who I am, and she's very manipulative, and I think as people, we see characters we don't really agree with their emotions, we judge them. And so getting around those barriers of not judging, but living in her actual presence and justifying her actions and her feelings was very challenging for me. I really had to pull a lot of things from my past life and also imagination to create hatred and jealousy and all these things that Estelle feels. And looking back, I think something that would have changed is I think I let myself go a little bit more as an actor. I think I was so caught up in wanting Estelle to be this malicious, excuse my language, bitch.
She said, excuse my language as she spelled it.
Cole saying all sorts of shit.
I remember last year when Dora took over the Instagram takeover for Dark Web, I do distinctively remember her describing Estelle, and I'm quoting her on this. Estelle was calculating minks.
I told you, Dora, Tim thinks you're hilarious for some reason. Like, he thinks you're hilarious.
You know, I've had a lot of people tell me that I need to start a podcast because, like, I'll be, like, telling a story about something that happened at a bar or something like that. And they would be like, I would listen to you talk about anything. And I'm like, oh, God, that's, like, intimidating. Like, but thank you. Thank you that you think I'm funny. I think I'm funny most of the time, but, like,
And
not
you
a lot of people do.
Oh, wait, so Cole, you were saying you would let yourself go more. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I would have more fun with her. I think now rewatching it, I would just let it all go. Just kind of also through quarantine and dealing with yourself, it makes you learn a lot.
Yeah.
Looking back, I think there's a lot of choices that I really liked, but also, I mean, with that ending monologue, like, I want to bring it back to acting class so that I can.
No.
It's such a good monologue. So,
No, you rocked it. You rocked it.
thanks. I'm gonna go back to someday.
Go back to what?
Blonde someday.
Blonde. It looked good on you, I thought.
It does look really good on you. I was like surprised when I saw you as a brunette because I thought you were a natural blonde.
No, that was my 21st year. I was like, Mom, I'm going to go to the salon for the first time and I'm going to get me some blonde hair.
Who is a real blonde?
No one.
No
I don't
one.
think anybody on here has natural hair color anymore. I mean, Roxy, you have blue hair.
I was blue for a minute, but I'm not anymore.
Actually, this is the only time I've ever had my natural hair color in a long. I'm au naturel now.
This is
Getting
my natural
older.
hair
Ring
color.
light on today either.
We're all getting older.
I know.
So let's see. Next, Sheldon, what challenged you the most, and what would you do differently?
I would say one big challenge was maybe to get more prep, especially with the production design, with the makeup, with the VFX. That was always a challenge. And then the other one, which I think you handled well, but our challenge was to not get carried away with all these different techniques and stuff that we want to do, which I think Cole echoed it earlier. Well, I want to echo what Cole said. It was, I think it's good that you were a actor director, or you're not acting in this, but your experience in acting. So you're pretty grounded in, let's say, every question I had about these different techniques, you know, it's always bringing it back to, okay, what about these two characters? It's very much about these two characters. So I think, you know, our solution to that, to not get carried away with that, was just, okay, how do these two characters feel and what justified using certain tools? Because I think it's, especially for, you know, more technical filmmakers, they could just have fun and go crazy and not even tie those things back to the core emotion of the script. And I think that's always a challenge when we're doing these types of things. But I think you did a good job in kind of pulling it back, you know, to what it's really about.
Well, I had you as a partner in crime.
That's the question. Yeah, it was fun. It was good.
And
we had two leads who were very good.
I have shortcomings that Mario and Roxy don't have as filmmakers. So it's like trying to focus on what I do have.
Yeah.
How about that?
But you were definitely there for Dora and Cole, which for like a DP is good to see, you know. It's like, because let's see, we make the most amazing image. It won't work if the characters aren't going to work.
Well, me and Mario are texting each other right now being like, should we take acting classes?
Yeah.
Like, can you cry on cue? And I'm like, I don't know if I can cry on cue.
You should take at least one, I think. Definitely.
I have heard that. I've heard that it's good for directors to take those classes.
Yeah.
Be like one of your French girls. Chat.
Roxy, let's do it, and let's just have like such raw emotion.
Yeah, do it together, you two, and invite me to the
That is going to be so
industry.
awkward.
Invite me to the industry night.
I'll film you guys in the class.
Yeah.
But thank you, Cole and Dora, because you definitely like showed up 100% on this and gave it your all, and were amazing, and vulnerable, and evil in all the right ways. So next, I'm bringing the question to you, Dora, since you're laughing. What challenged you the most? What would you do different? And you might have already answered the challenge part.
You know, I'm trying to think. Like, it was so long ago.
I know.
17.
I feel like ultimately, once I saw the episode, I was really happy with it, and I can't really think of anything necessarily that I would have done differently. I think for me, but then again, I don't really know, because I was like having a very strange, like, personal time in my life. You know all about it. But like, so for me, every day was like, all right, get through this day. You know what I mean? And I think in some ways, like, that kind of informed the performance of just like only being focused on like what was right in front of me. So I don't know. Like, obviously I don't think, oh, it was perfect. I was perfect or anything like that. But I can't really think of like anything necessarily that I would have done differently. I felt like it was exactly like the outlet probably that I needed like at the time, and was like just sort of able to kind of like exercise some of my own like personal hang-ups and like demons, so to speak, or whatever. So yeah, it just kind of like, I guess maybe I would have gotten more sleep during the whole thing. I was suffering from like really intense trauma-based insomnia at the time.
Yeah.
So I just remember like falling asleep a lot, like on set. I think I probably would have like gotten some melatonin or something so I could sleep like when I wasn't on set.
But always popped into it. Like you always like, boop, awake into it.
Well, I remember distinctly when we did the like fever dream sequence where I was like having bad dreams and then I was like falling asleep and stuff like that. There was definitely a few shots where I was like, oh no, like I really fell asleep. like that weird like dorm room bed that was really just made of like cardboard and comforter was actually really comfortable. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of anything that necessarily I would have done differently. I don't know. Usually there's always a ton of things that I feel like I would have done differently, but for some reason I can't really think of anything for this one.
Leave it all on the floor, right?
Yeah, I think I left it all on the dance floor, but I don't think it was necessarily because of, you know, any sort of like particular work or patting myself on the back. I think y'all caught me when I was actually in the middle of the downward spiral. So I was like, oh, I just have to let these people film it and it's gonna be okay. So it was kind of like a little bit of like life imitates art, imitates life. Like I remember my agent was just kind of like, so like, I don't want to pass on this for you, but I also don't want you to end up in a body bag if you take this. And I was like, I need something to get me out of my house.
I know. I felt bad. I was like, oh man. But like, I think that I told you, I admire you because you were, you know, going through it and you like were so vulnerable for us and committed and everything. I told you I admire you for that. And I feel like that's a good thing for people watching, you know, who are actors and like, you know, younger actors and coming up, was like, you know, using what you were going through in a productive way instead of just staying at home, you know, or, you know, isolating yourself, things like that. You were going through.
What's the point of having inner turmoil if you don't let people film it?
And then if you don't make money off of it.
It's such a waste.
I mean, turn some lemons. My favorite quote is, one of my favorites is Carrie Fisher, take your broken heart and turn it into art. That's what you did. I consider it art. Hopefully other people do. But yeah, I admire it. Duke.
We done good, kids.
Yeah.
Douglas.
For me, I would put it between two things. First one being, I don't know if you remember how long the first cut was. I think it was at least 87 minutes for just.
I think I remember how long the cut was, and I was like, this is.
Yeah, so condensing it was definitely a challenge. I wouldn't change how we did it because it's definitely easier to take a big block and chisel it down versus starting with something small and expanding. It was just very difficult because like when you have so many people that are good at their jobs, all the acting is good, all the writing is good, the cinematography was okay. And then you have to, it's like when you have to kill your dog, it's so impossible, you know, but I think we ended up with a pretty solid piece. But then
fight.
But then the other thing would be, and I think we can all attest to this, it's where you already have a full-time job, but then you kind of take this awesome project on the side and you dedicate every waking moment outside of it to try to get this thing done. Because I was working in 40 hours a week already. And so I like, Mike, I got weeknights, I got weekends, they're open, let's do this thing. And when you realize, while there is a lot of hours, when you wake up every morning, you're like excited to do all of this. You know you're in the right place, you know?
Aw, I was excited to come work with you. It was fun. We had fun. I mean, it was long, but it was fun.
I would see Dougie at his regular job, and then he would work with Michael on Viral at night.
Doug, is that a Tampa Bay Buccaneers poster in the back of your?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It is. Sorry.
Can I share something? So I bought these lights.
Oh, those are pretty.
Thank you. And then I realized I miscalculated the amount of lights I had.
Wyatt. Zigzags off.
Hey,
Roxy,
create a slate.
It looks
like
a
slate.
Come
on. Yeah,
It looks like you're saying something. About...
Am I know. I feel like I'm saying something. It's called what is it when it's an upside down slate?
Oh, tail slate.
Tail slate. Come on, filmmaker.
I'm very experienced. It's a tail slate.
Were you drinking that men are shit wine when you put that up?
You know, I think there's something terribly wrong with this wine.
Only way to know is to finish it, Roxy.
I am very drunk right now.
So there's something terribly right about it.
It was my friend dropped it off and she's like, sorry, this was $5.
Oh no.
Man.
No need to apologize for well-priced wine.
That's gonna hurt tomorrow.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, because we're coming up on that time, I realized that there is another circle person in episode 7. I'll give you a hint.
In episode 7?
Professor.
Oh, Cameron.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Cameron.
You're
Cameron
right.
is the guy in Circle who tries to push the pregnant woman and the child off at the same time. The machine fucking blasts him because he's cheating.
You're right. Shit, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Okay, so now that is mystery solved, I think we can wrap up and let everyone get back to their
job.
thing and their wine and everything that everyone else is doing this evening.
Columbus Jackets right now.
What'd you say?
Columbus Blue Jackets, third period right now.
Blue Jackets.
What?
Hockey. Does anybody follow hockey here?
Oh, no, that's why I didn't understand.
No one watches hockey here.
Yeah, I don't understand what sports are.
Everybody was like,
yeah.
Third period. Schools are closed.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I was like,
what
third
show is
period?
that?
I was like, that's a moderate leaking.
Is that on Netflix?
On that note,
I'm
going to push stop on recording. Thank you all for doing this.
Thanks, guys.